Folks, just when I thought I knew everything about lighting, I ended up meeting Mark Baker from the Soft Lights Foundation. And it turns out that, hey, maybe there's still a lot to learn out there. So on today's show of Restoring Darkness, we are going to discuss energy efficiency, lumens, and different kinds of characteristics of light and how maybe the lighting industry has it wrong and they need to listen to Mark Baker at Soft Lights Foundation. In the meantime, if you want to donate to the Restoring Darkness podcast, our movement, the Lighting and Darkness Foundation, you go to restoringdarkness.com and you click the donate link. Or if you want to take Mark's side, you can go to softlights.org and check out what he's working on. He's always up to some shenanigans down there, including lawsuits against massive institutions in the United States. Mark, why don't we go right into the Softlights update right now before we get to the show?
Oh, okay. So yesterday we had an article that came out in, it's called The Ringer. They normally do sports um articles, but this was about LED headlights. And he interviewed me at the Soft Lights Foundation and our friends at the FUCK Your Headlights Reddit site, and some other industry people. And it's an excellent article about LED headlights, and I will forward it to you. And your listeners may want to take a look at it because it is a well written article that explains the complexities of the LED headlight situation. It's not just misalignment. ADB will not solve the problem. There's a lot more going on, and it's a very interesting article. So,
What is
Soft Lights
ADB? What
Foundation,
is ADB?
adaptive driving beam, where they turn
Mm,
off the pixels,
mm.
but they turn off the pixels of the high beam so that you still have left the low beam. And most of the problem with LED headlights is the low beam. So they haven't solved that problem. So that's an industry thing, a government thing that, oh, this magical technology will save us. And it's not true.
Go to softlights.org to check it out. Sent me an email last week, Mark. It said, I learned something important today. Energy efficiency is providing the same quality of light using less energy. I've been saying that lumens per watt is the energy part of the definition, but that the industry has ignored the quality part: spatial distribution, dispersion characteristics, spectral power distribution, and temporal properties. Today I learned or came to understand that lumens is already a quality metric because it involves the perceived power of the light by the human eye using luminosity function. So that when you say that the industry focuses only on lumens per watt, it means that the industry chose a single quality metric, lumens per watt of input power. So it's not that the industry has ignored the quality of light, it's that the industry has selected a single metric and ignored all others to be able to fraudulently claim that an LED streetlight is more efficient than an HPS streetlight. That's a heavy duty statement, Mark Baker. Fraudulently?
Yeah, so I'm getting pushback by using that word fraud. However, when you are dishonest in what you are saying, then you're committing a fraud. So, in the United States, that in 2005, Congress passed the Energy Policy Act and directed the United States Department of Energy to come up with a solid state version of an incandescent light bulb. So solid state is what we know as LEDs. Um, so there was this direction from Congress to have a replacement with an energy efficient version of an incandescent light bulb. And that's what we're here to talk about today. Did the Department of Energy do what Congress asked them to do and develop an energy efficient replacement for the incandescent light bulb? Or did the Department of Energy invent something new, some new technology that's totally different, unsafe, hazardous, dangerous, and is nothing like an incandescent light bulb? And so that's what we're here to talk about.
Well, I think when I where I've come to now when it comes to light is that we don't have enough words to describe light. So you have artificial light, electric light, sunlight, moonlight, right? But there's different kinds of sunlight, and there's different kinds of moonlight, and there's different kinds of electric light, which is what you're talking about, right? So, and when you're only measuring some single metric like lumens, and you're abandoning all the other characteristics of an incandescent light, assuming that they were unnecessary or that they provided no other benefit. One that comes to mind is infrared, near infrared
Yes.
from incandescent lights.
Yes.
That's just assumption that we never needed that anyway. I'm not so sure that's true. And we have all these different kinds of light sources. Fluorescent light and LED light are not the same. It's not the same thing. And we need to distinguish between these things technically.
Yeah, so this idea of energy efficiency, the US government wasn't involved in until the oil embargo of 1973. So this is when Saudi Arabia withheld oil from the United States, and in the US we had gas lines, people waiting for gas at a station. The stations were running out of gas. So it was because of that that they started looking into concepts of how to make the oil that we had go further. And energy efficiency was one of these ideas. So in the realm of automobiles, the distance that a car could travel on the same gallon of gas became something important. So if a car was traveling at only 10 miles per gallon, if you could have the car modified in some way so that it would do 20 miles per gallon, you're cutting your energy use in half. It's more efficient so long as the car still does its job. If it can still reach its top speed, if it's still safe, whatever those criteria are. So that is a good application of the idea of energy efficiency. Let's make the car without the customer or the driver or the pedestrians or anybody noticing quality is exactly the same. It just goes farther on the same gallon of gas. But with light, as you mentioned, is so complicated and so intertwined with our health and our biology and everything we do. It's got all these other features. It's not just a mechanical process, some kind of industrial thing. Light is fundamental to us. And so I think that's where this major error is, choosing only the lumens per watt and ignoring infrared impacts, blue light impacts, and all these other things, the health issues and the quality of the light. That's a mistake.
I think the pursuit of energy efficiency is also a mistake. I'll give you an example. Appliances. So there's a constant pressure on appliances to increase their energy efficiency. Okay? But you know what?
Mhm.
Dishwashers don't work anymore. Like you can buy a brand new dishwasher. I would much rather have a dishwasher from the 1990s. And I'll tell you, I actually bought one on Craigslist or Kijiji one time because I was doing a renovation and my dishwasher broke. So I bought it. And this dishwasher cleaned the damn dishes. So what you're talking about in terms of, are we talking about lower quality or
Right.
not as good of a dishwasher or not as a
Right.
stove that's too complicated to fix because it has all these energy efficiency things in them that are there's no replacement parts for, or they're solid state so you can't fix them, they can't be repaired, and this is all being done in the name of sustainability. I think that the energy efficiency quest is should be ended, and we should be moving all of those resources to making clean energy that is cheap so we can use as much of it as we want.
Well, yeah, so that's another side of this equation. So for lighting, the idea was that you make the light bulbs more energy efficient to use less energy. But there was an assumption at the DOE that there would be this one-to-one replacement. So if you had 100 light bulbs out there, you replace them with LED light bulbs, and now everything you're using less energy. But of course, we know that's not what happened. Now there's LED light bulbs everywhere. And then if the quality got changed as well, then that's also another problem. So the you didn't need to actually reduce the quality of the light if you, on the power plant side, solved the problem there. If you made, I don't know, if you invented fusion power and it was powering everything perfectly clean and it and didn't have any pollution or something, you could have as whatever light you want. You can use as much energy as you want. So the energy efficiency thing is this. It's been twisted into something unrecognizable as to what it should be. The definition of energy efficiency is providing the same quality of service or providing the same result, but using less energy. But if you then increase the number of products that are using energy, you didn't end up saving any energy in the end. So there's got to be this sort of, okay, we're going to use energy efficient light bulbs, and then we're going to limit the total number of light bulbs to 1 million light bulbs total. That would actually save energy, but that's not what we're doing.
So Mark Baker wants to limit the amount of electric light people can have. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's just one theory, right? Or we can use alternate energy sources that aren't polluting the environment. So you reduce, conservation of energy is another. We don't need the light to be on all 24/7. We could have a curfew. We could limit the number of light bulbs, or we could have cleaner energy. We can shut down the coal burning plants, whatever. So there's all these possibilities. But the one idea that the Department of Energy did that started with the 2005 Energy Policy Act by Congress directing the Department of Energy to go and see if they could make this energy efficient replacement for an incandescent light bulb. They didn't do that. The DOE found this technology, solid state lighting, came back and then fraudulently told Congress, we did it. We have this white light coming out of a solid state flat surface emitter, and it's an energy efficient replacement. Well, if you use only a single metric and said the lumens per watt is everything related to the quality of the product, then maybe the DOE is right. But they're not. That's not everything about light. As we said, there's a spatial distribution. There's the reactions to people. So many people are suffering these seizures and migraines from this toxic light. So that's where I say that the fraud has come in, because even when the Soft Lights Foundation has pointed it out to the DOE, they've ignored our petitions. Even when the Soft Lights Foundation has submitted petitions to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, they are fighting our lawsuits. So even when we've contacted the Environmental Protection Agency, they said, oh, we don't have anything to do with that. So the entire U.S. government is fighting against solving this problem and getting a real replacement for incandescent light that is equivalent. There was another technology that's been invented where they put little speckles inside the incandescent light bulb that reflects some of the light back, and then the uncombusted light or whatever is going on in there, it emits more light. Supposedly it's the same quality. It's still an incandescent light bulb, but because not as much is sort of going out as heat, then more is coming out as light. That does come into the issue of, well, what about the infrared? Is there less infrared? So it's really the same. So it gets really into these fine points. And what's not happened is they haven't defined what the quality of service is. We could talk about that. What quality of service does an incandescent light bulb provide? I can answer that if you like.
I'm just digesting what you said there.
Okay.
Is it possible that George W. Bush was the worst president in the history of the United States? I mean, how many stuff came out of his presidency that's just reverberating through our society negatively? You got the Patriot Act, the Energy Policy Act. There's all sorts of different problems that came out of that administration that just keep flowing at us that are horrible, absolutely horrible laws. They impact Canada as well. But you're thinking about this. I read an article about that technology sometime around 2016 or 17 that they had invented an incandescent light that was 75% more efficient or something like that. And that technology got kiboshed because nobody wanted to hear about incandescent light anymore.
Exactly. And so there was everything got trampled. So there was this idea that and excitement for inventing this new, what the Department of Energy says is radically new technology, LEDs. unique characteristics and a directional light, like a laser. Who wants a directional light in their house or on the street or in a headlight? We don't. It's not a safe light. And everybody got excited. And so then the industry and the government colluded together and squashed these new ideas. That I think it might have been MIT that invented this light bulb that's an incandescent that generates more light, more lumens per watt. I think it's something like 45 lumens per watt.
Mm.
Um, and a typical incandescent light bulb is 10 to 15 lumens per watt. So it was definitely higher. And the spatial properties would be the same. The spectral properties would be the same. The temporal properties would be the same. If there was a little bit less infrared or heat or something, that might change it a little bit. But it was a lot closer to being equivalent to an incandescent light or typical incandescent light bulb versus this radically new technology that LEDs are. LEDs is something for the laboratory, not something for our environment.
Yeah, I don't know if I fully agree that LEDs. I think that you're on the right track by making the claim that we don't really understand what electric light is and how we interact with it in the interior environment. So in our homes, like, are we, because we used to sit in front of fires and absorb IR and be massive amounts from fires, and because incandescent light bulbs emit this same energy, and we had them all through our homes, we were being exposed to this as well. And now we're never exposed to it. People, especially in northern climates, are rarely exposed to near infrared. They don't go, if they don't go to saunas, or they don't have a fireplace in their home where they burn wood, or they don't have any incandescent lights. It's completely absent. And never in human history before has that been true. That's interesting. In the past, people went from fire to incandescent light bulbs. And incandescent light bulbs have an element that fire has. They have this infrared element to them that you absorb when you sit next to an incandescent light bulb and read your book or whatever you're doing at night. And human homes in northern climates where there's darker winters and that have now been made IR free. And on top of that, we've added this blue element to the light, which sometimes we use various chemical dyes to cover or make it appear a different color, but it's still the same wavelength. And our environment is, number one, minus IR, infrared, near infrared, and plus high blue energy lighting from phones and screens and light bulbs. Now,
Right.
people can say, no, it's totally benign. Doesn't matter at all. I don't know if anyone knows the answer to that or not.
Well, let's delve into this idea. So, if the Department of Energy says that the definition of energy efficiency is providing the same result using less energy, or performing the same task using less energy. So these two parts, right? There's the you got to use less energy, and then there's what is the task. And this it's not defined for what the incandescent light bulb. It's not out there. So how could they meet the requirements of Congress if they didn't even take the time to define what the task was? So let's talk about what the task of an incandescent light bulb is. So is the task simply to provide light?
Yes,
Nothing else.
that is the assumption. Yes. That is the assumption
That's the
that
current.
the lighting industry is operating on the assumption that there's no difference between different electric light sources. They all do the same thing in varying degrees, whether they're CFLs or incandescents or LEDs or halogen or metal halide. It's all the same thing. It's all visual acuity. It's all this. Some of them have different color rendering indexes, but other than that, it's the same thing. And I think we're discovering that that's not true, Mark.
Right. So if the industry is saying, well, yeah, the only task is to provide light, let's talk about how that might not be true. For example, let's say that all the light bulbs emitted laser beam light.
Mm-hmm.
collimated light, red beams. So you plug it into your house, and now your house is filled with all these lasers. Is that really was that really the task that needs to be performed by an incandescent light bulb? I don't think that's the task of the incandescent light bulb. The task of the incandescent light bulb is providing illumination, really uniform illumination throughout the room that it's in. I think it's a simple thing to understand that that's a spatial aspect, right? So that this a directed energy beam is not what you want. When you go to the store and buy an incandescent light bulb, I don't want a laser type light. The quality of light I want is something that's uniformly illuminating my room. And so I think that one simple thing proves the industry wrong. It can't be just lumens per watt. It would have to be at least lumens per watt and providing uniform illumination. Don't you think?
I also think it involves offering a dose of near infrared.
What about that? Is that also a task of the incandescent light bulb? It did do that. That is what the incandescent light bulb did. The Department of Energy says that, oh, that infrared and near infrared is waste, useless, something junk. We don't want it. We don't need it. We only need the visible part. But the LEDs are providing less of a service, aren't they? Isn't there? If they're only providing visible light and no infrared, no deep
It depends
near
on
infrared.
yeah, like see what we're prosecuting here a little bit is what is electric light and what is LED versus, and this is what I'm saying. The lighting industry has to accept that there really isn't a one for one replacement for an incandescent light bulb. And on top of that, I don't think we really knew what an incandescent light bulb was doing totally in our homes.
Right. Yeah, a lot of this research is new. Since the invention of LEDs, now more research has come out. The American Medical Association in 2012 and 2016 was the first to talk about this blue light. Nobody knew anything about the blue light being a problem because we didn't have the sources. Incandescent light bulbs, high pressure sodiums, low pressure sodiums. Um, Maybe there were some other sources, but then suddenly the scientists realized, wow, this blue light is something. This blue light is really important. 453 nanometers apparently is our whole system, the melanopsin within our whole body and especially the IPRGCs in our eyes are detecting this 453 nanometer light and then controlling our whole circadian rhythms, our day night cycles, our sleep, wake, hungry, moods. It's all by this blue light. And so, wow, your whole hormonal system. And then, so scientists didn't know that until the last few years. And then the LEDs came out and it used exactly that blue wavelength light. That's the most, important and the most hazardous. It was sort of like, I don't know, it just seems like a coincidence that happened. But now more research has come out and it turns out, wow, let's get rid of the blue. And this is pretty much universal at this point. Let's get rid of the blue. But doesn't that say that there is this quality aspect? You can't just say lumens per watt. Isn't you can't say that this LED is equivalent or energy efficient as compared to an incandescent light bulb because it's got different characteristics. It's a different product.
Hmm. You might be right. And
Wow.
no, no.
I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, no, you might be
Yeah.
right about that. Huh. I'm very. I've been searching for the answer to this question since I started the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast in 2016,
Okay. All
and
right.
that is, what is the evolutionary relationship, the hormonal relationship, the metaphysical relationship, the spiritual relationship? Why is firelight so important to humans? And I have in my life always loved to make fires. I always love doing it. I love sitting by fires. I have a fire every day in my house from November to March, a beautiful big fireplace that heats my whole home. And what I notice is that in the evening, people love to sit by that fire. And there has to be something else going on other than that. It's just comfortable. It's just comfortable here. They're drawn to it. They're absolutely drawn to it. It's like a magnet. And
Yeah.
my daughter lays down in front of it, right in front of the fireplace with a pillow and reads her book. My son brings the chair over and sits it right in front of the fire. People fight over who's going to, you're blocking the fire, right? And they sit there and they do their phones or they read their book, but they become tired. They become sleepy. They want to go to bed. They want to, and only in the morning and the evenings do I observe this. And when guests come to my house, they love to sit by the fire in the evenings.
Hmm.
And I would
Yeah.
love to know, I'm sure it has something to do with the massive amount of infrared bands that are smashing into the people in front of that fire. It's something
Yeah.
that's triggering a vitamin D reaction. It's something that's making some sort of chemical physiological difference to their body when they spend time in front of that light source, that
Right.
fire light source with infrared. And I really am wondering, now that you bring in this stuff up, if incandescent lights by accident, not in their design, they were designed to
Yeah.
create light, but in the
Yeah.
fact that there's a combustion going on, it's giving us humans a little dose of that infrared, and that is topping people's vitamin D levels up or something like that. There's a reason why all northern cultures have some kind of hot box sauna steam ceremonies. When you all across northern hemispheres, people have saunas and steam rooms and stuff like that, where the tribes would have the hot rock ceremonies inside tents, and there's something with this IR that incandescent light gives us that is completely absent in LED lighting. And top it off, you have this 453 nanometer blue light, which we know does the opposite of what a fire does. It triggers your circadian rhythm to do the opposite, stay awake, um, be hungry at the wrong times. It's triggering the wrong response for an evening, settling, sleeping type of diurnal creature, which we are.
Right. Right. Yeah. And so there's this, it seems somewhat coincidental that it was the blue wavelength light that the engineers and physicists had to use to make the LED produce light at the higher lumens per watt. Um, Maybe because it's the more energetic light. But those first LEDs, let's say 5,000 kelvins that came out, had a very large spike of that blue light. And then they didn't know or didn't do anything to see, well, what are the health impacts of having that big spike of blue and no red or no infrared?
Why are
That's two
humans
different
so
colors.
dumb? Humans are so dumb.
Yes. Well, collectively, there's a lot of psychological stuff going on, isn't there? The desire to fit into your tribe and not speak up, not to be ostracized from your tribe, to have your own personal goals of success or winning or whatever. There's a lot of stuff going on there.
I'll tell you, man, if you
But
want to see how weird humans are, if you want to be creepy, you want to see, go watch women on these Pilates machines. Like, humans have gone completely crazy. Like, the exercises we're doing, the brain rot we were watching on the internet, on this blue light thing, which is all involved with screens. All the screens are blue light, right? There's something evil with this blue light. It's almost like a satanic force. I'm not joking. I'm serious. Like,
wow,
there's
Michael,
so many
that's
problems with the blue light.
that's what I felt you're describing when it first came out in around 2015, 2016. I'd never experiencing that psychological feeling of evil. Never. I'm not really a religious type person. And I was like, oh my God, this is some kind of hell that I've entered on the LEDs, on the street lights and the car headlights. I couldn't take my gaze away from this like sort of white hot evil light. And now we know it's the blue. It's out of context. It should be limited, and at nighttime it should be probably eliminated completely. But in the daytime, it's in the sunlight. It's balanced with the red and the infrared. At the
Sunlight
nighttime,
is
the
something
fire.
different. Sunlight and
Right.
firelight are two processes that are completely independent of electric light. They're totally different things.
Yeah. So, but that gets into the when are we using the electric light? Are we like, if you're outdoors, you don't really need an electric light bulb. So the maybe the most common use would be sort of like I would use the electric light at night when really it's not naturally, there. And so Edison's bulb was kind of okay because it didn't have the blue and it had mostly red and infrared. So it wasn't that different from the fire, like you're saying. And it impacts our mood. And people said, oh, I like that. I like that light. It's nice. I feel comfortable. I can do my studies. I can do my accounting or read a book or whatever at night that I couldn't do before. Wow, what a great service. Thank you, Mr. Edison. Good job. So then 100 whatever 50 years later, now the industrial complex and the government and stuff has conspired to create a product that has exact opposite of what we want. It has all so much blue and no red, no infrared. And so now our moods are being impacted. People are, definitely posting on the internet this cold, harsh, blue-white light. They don't like it. Of course they don't like it. It's inappropriate. And so back to the energy efficiency thing, is should energy efficiency include, for example, the mood that is created by the light? Changing the mood reaction seems like you've changed the quality of the light.
The This is really scary to me, actually. The more I think about it, I feel like I'm on the threshold of new knowledge or something. I was sitting in the hot tub in my backyard. I have a hot tub, and I live on a farm, and so you have we have I can see the Milky Way from my property on a
Nice,
clear night.
nice.
Not spectacularly, but you can see it misted in there on some
Okay.
nights. And but when it's damp out, so if there's like a damp, like high humidity in the air, and the sky is cloudy over Toronto, there's like this purple haze over the city because it's a
Yeah.
mixture of like 5,000 Kelvin LEDs and high pressure sodiums. So high pressure sodium is um, Toronto hasn't changed its streetlights yet from high pressure sodium to LED, and
Wow.
so there's like this purple haze over the city, and it's very ghoulish actually. It's like it looks
Yeah.
like really unnatural when you look at it. It doesn't look like a natural. It's obviously not a natural phenomenon, but it looks really ghoulish. And then I'm starting to think about what blue light actually delivers to us. What is high RI firelight and sunlight deliver us? Relaxation, vitamin D, intimacy, love, um, connectedness, togetherness, wanting to be close to the people you love, wanting to gather around it together and talk. And what does blue light do? It pushes us apart. It makes us get into these screens, into these private worlds online that are fake and phony and unhealthy, brain rot, pornography, um, social media envy, all this nonsense on the internet. That's blue light. That's all blue light, blue electric LED illumination that's doing all those things. And I think it's ruining our world. Like when I start to think about it, I think maybe like the number one problem in our world is blue light. If we just got rid of all this blue light, I mean, if people weren't addicted to these screens and texting each other on X and fighting over this nonsense and getting all fired up because of messages delivered to them over blue light. Like it's crazy. I mean, maybe I'm going nuts here, Mark, but I just think when you think about it, all of the negativity in our world is delivered to us via 453 nanometers of light. And we've walked away we've moved to our home, we've moved IR out of our homes, we've abandoned all of the ceremonies and processes that humans used in the past to cope over the winter in the northern hemispheres.
Right. there's no way to discount that idea, that theory. It should be tested, should be researched. There's no the parallel, like we had COVID, and then we had LEDs at the same time, and we had social media kind of coming out more or less at the same time, and now our children are suffering, adults too. But I mean, it's really bad. So the social problems that are occurring at school. How much is it related to our change in our light with the screens, the blue light on the screens, blue light maybe on the street lights, keeping us awake at night, etc. There is, I think, a major shift, and it's that lack of love now that is associated with the warmer colors, the harshness, the anger, and stuff. I personally get agitated under the harsh blue light. Okay, so I know it impacts me. So that means there's others that are impacted similarly. This agitation. How many people, how many stories have we heard of people misbehaving on airplanes
Hmm.
since LEDs came out? They've all switched to this weird purple light. I see it on TV in the stories. Oh, they had a big to do on an airplane, and then they show the inside of the airplane, and it's got this weird LED light. What's the relationship there? That should be explored. I think that there's some quite strong possibility that by replacing the incandescent light or the tungsten filament light with this weird LED light, that it's triggered these reactions. It can't be the only thing. People don't want to wear masks because of COVID. People are just upset with the government, et cetera. But it's got to be there. There's got to be a connection between those things.
We're not saying that people don't get annoyed for other reasons. Like
Yeah,
that's not what you're saying. What we're saying
right,
is that there isn't that you believe you can't point to any. I mean, there's studies that show different little pieces, but what seems to be emerging to me is that our society is awash in a type of electric light that is unhealthy for us.
right, right.
And that
And
includes screens.
this electric light is electromagnetic radiation. In the US, the job of the Food and Drug Administration is to minimize the exposure to and the emissions of unnecessary electromagnetic radiation. That's their whole task. It's in the statutes. They're supposed to be doing that. And so that means you got to define what is it that's unnecessary in the visible light spectrum or the infrared spectrum, but let's say visible light spectrum. What is unnecessary? What is it mean to reduce the emissions of and exposure to this unnecessary electromagnetic radiation in the visible light part of the spectrum? That's light pollution. That's what that is. And light pollution, if it's affecting our moods and our health and everything else, it should be, reduced. And so we need to be looking at that whole. It's called what is that? Electrosmog.
Mm.
It's this in the visible part. It's all kinds of weird energies going in different directions with different colors and wavelengths and different spectral properties and spatial properties and flicker, and it's just too much. And I think we're unhealthy because of it.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, there's something to this. And it's you ever seen there's movies, I can't remember the name of the movie, and I can't remember the name of the actor. I'm not good. I don't really watch movies anymore because it kind of got crappy. I haven't seen a good movie in
Well, it got the movies they make these days are all filled with this blue light. I can't watch it either. Only the old movies.
well, no, I have a theater in my home where there's a projector. Oh, it's so comfortable to watch the projector light than it is to watch the
Oh
screen
yeah.
light. It's so much nicer to
Okay.
watch light that is put onto a projector than it is to have it coming at you out of the TV. I watch a TV now. I'm like, oh my god, it takes like time to adjust to it. But the there, I remember this movie where this doctor was in love with this woman and she was cheating on him or something. But he was a doctor and he went to Asia to try to solve a cholera epidemic.
All right.
And like people, oh, everyone's dying, da 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 da, and they can't think of that. They need to stop drinking the water, or they need to stop burying people in the water, right?
Oh,
And it's like when
yeah.
you see that this cholera epidemic is because the water is toxic, or they poisoned the well or whatever. And when the light goes on, sorry for that, guys listening, but if you're listening out there, but when it's like
Yeah.
this could be actually a huge problem.
Mm, yeah. Right. That is what's going on here. I wouldn't mind if the Department of Energy said, hey, everybody, we've invented a new type of light. Here's its properties. Here's what it does to our moods. It causes some seizures and some migraines, but it can illuminate your room. If you reduce it down to, let's say, 300 lumens and it's amber colored and we have pretty good electronics, so there's not that much flicker, you could use that for your house and you might be satisfied with that and you might save energy, you might reduce your cost. Okay, so go ahead. But the claim to say that that was an energy efficient replacement for an incandescent light bulb is a fraudulent claim.
On its face.
Absolutely, on its face. It's not lumens per watt is not the only metric for the quality aspect of an incandescent light bulb. There's
Hmm.
much more to it.
Hmm. It's interesting that humans got lucky with incandescent lights then. They didn't know that the IR was important, maybe. Or maybe we got lucky with
Right,
high pressure sodium that it was low Kelvin temperature. We got lucky. And
we
now
did.
we're unlucky. We got unlucky
Yeah,
with lighting.
we did. It's kind of a weird thing, isn't it? Interesting how that all happened. But that's exactly what happened. But it's not good to continue to ignore the problem, to continue to say, well, let's just tweak it here, tweak it here. Let's come out and say, okay, we made a mistake, everybody. All right, we admit, a lot of those people, it was 2005, they might not even be around anymore. They're probably not in the Department of Energy. But let's not continue the fraud. Let's go out and say exactly what the properties are of LED light. It's okay. Let's just say, be clear, be honest about it, and people can choose. In the United States, we have a new administration coming in. Maybe the new administration will repeal the 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 law that required 45 lumens per watt because it's maybe it's something to look forward to, and then people can have a choice again. They can go to the store and buy an incandescent light bulb if that's what they like, or they can buy an LED light bulb if that's what they prefer.
Wow. It's an interesting thing. I don't think I'm going to be able to prove or disprove any of it. It's a hunch, at this point for me. For you, you're a little bit deeper. You have some evidence that you've, read about in different aspects to this. But man, wouldn't it be interesting? Copernicus? You know that guy?
No,
Copernicus?
I've heard of him. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So he was the one that imagine it's I think he discovered calculus or something like that.
I think that was Newton.
Whatever. They so he postulated, he went to the Pope. He said, "Sit down, Your Eminence." So the Pope sits down and he says, "I got a doozy for you here. What's that?
Mm-hmm.
The earth revolves around the sun. The sun doesn't revolve around the earth." Okay? And people say, "Oh my God, can you believe they made Copernicus a heretic?" Yes, I totally. That's crazy. Imagine you're sitting there.
It might have been Galileo, actually.
No, Galileo. No, Copernicus had the Earth being the center, the sun being the center of the universe. That was his model,
Yeah, it,
concentric model.
it wasn't. I thought it was Galileo that went and met
Yeah,
with the Pope,
Galileo
or they
was
called him.
maybe
They
no.
called him a heretic.
Anyway,
Go ahead.
Galileo and Copernicus were very similar to one another. But anyway, I don't know what.
Right.
Anyway, the Copernicus said the sun is the center of the universe, not the Earth.
Okay.
Maybe Galileo said the Earth revolves around. But anyway, it doesn't matter. My point is this:
Gotcha.
is that it's going to be a Copernican or a Galilean moment when this is revealed, if it's true.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like you're going to be going to people and saying, guys, one of the major health problems in our world is blue rich LED lights. And those are in our street lights. They're now in our homes. They're in all our TVs, and they're in all our phones. And if we want to become healthier, we need to reduce our interactions with this blue rich LED light. But it's everywhere. Yeah, but it's a big problem. And here's the proof. That's going to be like a Copernican moment. You're going to be a heretic. You already are a heretic, Mark Baker.
I am. There is a lot of pushback. I am on all the social media sites, and they're from the professionals in the industry do yell at me for this position. So, yeah. But we're laying out this podcast here today is laying out some evidence for people to think about. They
Not
can,
evidence, just some I think that this is more hunchy. It's like,
okay, some discussion points for them to think
yeah,
about.
if somebody's researching this and they listen to this, there's probably a research project, a PhD research project in this podcast for somebody. You know what I mean? That gets a
Yeah, I
grant or
agree.
something like that. There's something here to study firelight. There's absolutely no way that there isn't multiple relationships between firelight and humans and our development of our brains and the way we make love and how, humans are a species that the female chooses her sexual mates. So in all human societies, if a woman does not want to engage in that type of behavior with a man, it's considered rape. That's a standard. Either the parents have to approve or the woman has to approve of it. So we're a species that the sexual selection is done by the woman. It's not done by that way in chimpanzee world. The male chimps choose, and the female chimps
Mm.
accept everybody. Same with bonobos, they accept everybody. Whereas female humans, they choose their mates, and that has something to do with fire. That evolution and those changes in us. If you believe in evolution, some people don't. I believe in natural selection. I don't know about evolution, but in natural, I know seriously. I think those are two different things, by the way. Natural selection and evolution are two different things, in my opinion. I don't know if I'm wrong about that. I've gone on. Listen,
Mm.
this has been a crazy show, but there's some relationship, direct natural selection, physiological, psychological, spiritual connection to the fire and to the IR and to warm colors at night and to that matter to humans. And we have removed all those things from our lives, probably to our detriment, especially in northern climates.
Yep.
This has been another episode, a wild one, of the Restoring Darkness podcast, 48 minutes long. My thanks to Mark Baker, who is very courageous and brave and takes a lot of abuse, but I think he kind of likes it. I think he's a little bit of a, what do you call a masochist? He likes to put himself out there for abuse. He gets a kick out of it. Go to softlights.org if you want to support his work. And of course, you can always go to restoringdarkness.com. We got lots of changes coming in 2025 to the Lighting in Darkness Foundation. We have some big announcements coming out, folks. It's going to be super fun and exciting. We're going to be looking for captains to join us and help us with our mission. So you go to restoringdarkness.com. And at the end here, I thank you, the listeners and the viewers, colleagues that enjoy this show. Thank you for listening. Bye for now.